Okay, so on or about 6:30, bring this meeting to the Easton Conservation Commission to order, December 7th, 2020. Please note that this obviously this is a remote meeting using Zoom technology due to the state of emergency initiated March 12th by Governor Baker in response to the COVID-19 pandemic. This meeting will be recorded by both audio and video. Applicants will be given the opportunity to assume remote control for their hearings if they desire and make presentations. Otherwise, we can display the documents for them. Also note, on April 6th, the Commission delegated signature authority to Andrea Langhauser, Environmental Planner, Assistant Planning Director, for all decisions issued during the duration of the emergency. Now that the housekeeping is out of the way, I just want to take an opportunity to welcome our new member, Charlie Mallow, to the commission. So welcome aboard, Charlie. Appreciate you joining us. Charlie's a little frozen. Oh, there he is. So welcome aboard, Charlie.
Thank you.
Looking forward to having you participate for sure. So the first two items we have up, Charlie, you did Mullins, right? And you sent that Mullins statement in. Charlie's on a hit or miss internet connection, I think.
I'll try chat. I know he received it.
You can get it to send in. I didn't know how to do it. My email for 1 second.
Did he say he was in Pennsylvania?
I didn't hear.
Yes, he's in Pennsylvania.
Perhaps we can take his word for it without actually having it in our hand until tomorrow.
Okay, I'm trying to sort of, oh, did we lose him now? Okay. Okay, Charlie's back.
Kish, will you please make Rory co-host?
Okay, so Charlie, so you I know that you watched the previous hearings. So I just need, normally we'd have the statement in writing. So you just
One, I believe it was the 16th, because the others I think were too advanced. You know, you can only have missed the one meeting, so I wouldn't. I don't believe I would be qualified to.
Yeah, I think though on this hearing everything is from the 16th.
On the other ones.
So anything from this set of hearings is only from the 16th. There are a couple of ones that maybe. Oh my. Charlie may have to call in or something. Hey, Charlie, your connection is like locking up and your audio is pretty terrible. You can go by phone. There's a phone number at the top.
The top of the agenda.
Can you just put in that meeting ID? Can you do that?
How do I sound now? I sound any better now?
Yeah. You sound okay right now.
I just had to move closer.
Well, I think it's your internet connection more than anything else, but I guess we'll give it a try. So, I mean, if you get intermittent connections, I think you need to switch to a phone line if you can. To just call in.
I'll text him the information. I have his
You
cell
know
phone
the
number.
number by chance?
I will text it to you
I
in
don't- I
just
don't
one
text
second,
Andy,
Charlie.
Just give it to me.
It's
No, I don't
1301.
text Andy, just give it to me verbally. If I can just have it verbally, that'd be great.
1301-715-8592.
And then you have to put in a meeting ID once you get to that number, Charlie. The meeting ID is 810-5959-9861.
I'm listening to this, hang on one second. What was that meeting ID again?
Right there on the screen at the top. 810 5959.
You guys hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, here we go. Okay.
Okay, if you're on, I'm going to stop sharing.
Okay, so 12 Meeting House Lane. This is a notice of intent for a septic system. We went through this plan last time. We were just missing a DEP number. So does anybody have any questions about this? I think we're ready to proceed. I can bring up the plan if anybody needs a.
I have no questions. We have the DEP number. We're good, right?
Yep, we are good. So, any comments from the commission?
Sure. This is Carol. I'm looking at the staff report, number 9. 9A, no dumping in wetlands should be identified as a perpetual condition. My request is that we make no dumping in the inner 50 feet.
I'm going to bring up the plan just so that we all are looking at the same thing. So this line here is the inner 50 foot.
Well,
Which is-
thanks for that reminder. Okay,
I'm just making sure that we're all on the same page here.
right, good, thank you.
I mean, this is all lawn. I mean, I'm not quite sure what they would dump in that area
Right.
and what we're trying to prevent.
Right, thank you. I guess what I'm doing is wanting to get in the habit of checking that when it comes up in Andrea's reports.
Agreed?
So thanks for bringing that up.
Okay, so are you withdrawing your request?
I am, yes.
Okay. Any other comments from the commission? Any public comment for 12 Meeting House Lane? Sorry, my screen is a little wonky today. I'm actually on a different computer, so it's. So seeing no comments, make a motion to issue, close the hearing, issue permit for work, order conditions for 12 Meeting House Lane, noting the additional conditions, no dumping in the wetlands should be a perpetual condition, period.
Second.
Melo second. So roll call vote. Charlie, we do this roll call and we do it sort of in alphabetical order. So you are going to be third in line, okay? So Caulfield's aye.
Lundin abstain.
Aye.
You
Yes.
just have to say your you have to say your name first, Charlie, okay? So Melo, aye.
Charlie Melo. Aye.
Thank you.
Thomas, aye.
Okay, so we had 301. Okay, so let's move on to the next one. 236 Prospect Street, which is another one with a so Frank is here. Do you want to bring him up? Does he want to come up?
I'll be happy to bring him up. Frank, we don't want you to talk if you don't have anything to say.
So this was another one we were waiting for DEP number on. We have that now. Frank, any comments, or we can proceed?
I really do not have anything to add to what has previously been presented. We do have, as you already stated, the DEP number, so we would request to proceed.
Thank you, Frank. Any comment from the commissioner from related to this?
None for me.
Seeing none, any public comment on 236 Prospect Street? Just raise your hand or put something in the chat or Q&A box. Okay, so seeing none, I'm going to make a motion to close the hearing, issue permit for work and order conditions for 236 Prospect Street, noting permanent markers will be installed along the wetland side of the limit of work. When the fence is replaced, relocated outside the wetland and closer to the limit of work. No dumping in the wetlands is a perpetual condition. Have a second?
Second, Thomas.
So roll call vote, Caulfield's aye.
Lundin, aye.
Charlie, that's you. Thomas, aye.
So was it Melo and I didn't hear that. I assume so. Charlie, can you just confirm that was an aye from you? Charlie, can you hear me?
Yep.
Was that an aye from you? I just didn't hear it. It got sort of cut off.
Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Okay. I don't know. I'm in Pennsylvania here, and I've got a Wi-Fi from the race car shop, and it's not real good.
So did you vote aye on that last?
Yes.
Okay. So 4-0. Thank you, Charlie.
Thank you.
So the next hearing is 927 Washington Street. This is a notice of intent for a septic system upgrade. So who do we have here from
We have,
J.K. Holmgren?
yes, Scott Rogers is coming up. For the record, as noted in my staff report, all the new public hearings have posted their butter notification proof to the online applications. There's Scott.
Hey, Scott.
Hey guys, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good.
You want me to put the plan up?
If you don't mind.
I can do that. I'm pretty good at that. Okay, so this is the plan. Why don't you tell us about the project, Scott?
Sure. This is, for the record, my name is Scott Rogers, J.K. Holmgren Engineering. The project you see before you is on Washington Street, 927. It is a septic repair. Currently, there's an existing failed septic system in the front of the house. There's a bordering vegetated wetland off-site, actually. Varies between about 20 feet, a little bit more on the northern side. The cesspool currently stands at about 60 feet or so from the BVW, and that, of course, is proposed to be removed. We are proposing a brand new system. That'll be 78 feet back from the wetland, measuring it from the western side. There'll be a new 1,500 gallon tank proposed, as well as a D-box, and it's an 18-foot by 56-foot long leaching field. So we are proposing silt socks up against the 51-foot buffer, if you will, and there's no work that'll take place inside the 50-foot buffer. So that's basically it.
So the did you see the staff report, Scott?
I did not see the staff report.
So so the one comment I think that probably is pertinent here is that there's no erosion control on the north side of this.
Okay.
And I think that we would prefer to see some erosion control, you know, up here. And I don't know where you want to put it. I know there's a driveway right there.
Right.
But I think we do have to make some conditions here, because it actually slopes off pretty steeply from the edge of the property line to this wetland. So I just wouldn't want anything to sort of head down there.
Right. I'd probably propose that we put the silt sock on the north side, you know, tie it in close to the house there and just kind of run it, let's say, from the house to the property line right next to the driveway.
That's a great idea.
There's
yeah.
no disturbance really on that side, but I get your point.
Yeah. And do you anticipate needing a dewatering pit on this? Because it's not indicated on the plan.
No, we don't.
Okay. What would you do if you had to use one?
We'd probably want to keep that as far as we could away from the wetland. I'm thinking we'd probably have to have it close to the street, next to the driveway, perhaps.
Mm-hmm.
So you wouldn't be using an existing test pit area?
No.
Okay. Any comments from the commission on this?
This is Carol. I have one. Speaking of the staff report, number 7D, there's a request for permanent markers to be put on the plan. I wonder, Scott, if it makes sense when you're putting the erosion control to the north on the plan, what anyone thinks about putting the markers on as well.
Yeah, I was actually going to make that a condition here. So, you know.
Is there a chance we can? I'm sorry. Is there a chance we can have those as a condition versus having to come back to a hearing?
So what I think that, you know, from my standpoint, Scott, is that I think that we can handle that as an administrative thing. I mean, you've been before this commission many times, and I know that if you tell me that you're going to modify the plan, and add in the erosion control and the permanent markers within the next, week. That'll give Andrea time to administratively approve that, so that before we issue the permit. So
Okay.
I don't want to hold up the permit for another couple weeks. I want to get this to you. So I think that Carol's suggestion, as well as the suggestion earlier about the erosion control, if we can get those on the plan, and then have you get that to Andrea, we can actually issue a permit tonight with the condition that you're going to get that to Andrea.
Great.
Any other comments from the commission? Okay. Let's see, we have any public comment from 927 Washington Street?
I don't see anybody's hand raised.
So seeing none, I assume you want to close, Scott, and we'll move forward.
Yes, please.
So I am going to make a motion to close the hearing, issue a permit for work and order conditions for 927 Washington Street. Noting that the plan needs to be modified to identify erosion control on the north side of the property from the corner of the house to the northeasterly property line, and as well as marking on the plan the location of permanent markers along the edge of the current edge of lawn or property line, whichever is closer to the house. And no dumping in the wetlands should be identified as a perpetual condition, and the contractor shall sweep the street each day.
Thomas, second, with those conditions.
Thank you. Roll call vote. Caulfield's aye.
Lundin, aye.
Milo, aye.
Thomas, aye.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Point of
much.
order, Mr. Chairman, would you mind just repeating that motion for me, please?
Sure. So the motion with the conditions, right? So the conditions are that Mr. Rogers provide us with a modified plan, including the erosion control on the northern side from the corner of the house to the northeastern property line. Also identifying the location of the permanent markers either on the edge of the lawn or the property line, whichever is closer to the house.
The other four conditions are in the staff report.
And then perpetual condition is no dumping in the wetlands, and the contractor shall sweep the street each day. Because I modified the conditions, I had to read them out. So.
Can I just make a comment regarding that? Is that actually with these Zoom calls, you can actually record them. So you can
Yeah,
record.
it's
Right.
actually recording now.
Right, right. So you can go back and look at that information as well.
Great.
That's with the town administrator's office, those recordings. It's not with us.
We're recording to the cloud as opposed to our individual computers, John.
Oh, okay.
We have trouble getting to it.
We do it differently, sorry.
No, I was doing it on my computer for a while too.
No problem. Tish, whatever you need, man, okay?
John, what is that what is that background behind you?
That is Walden Pond.
It looks great.
Okay, so Scott, we're all set, I guess.
Yes, thank you very much.
Thanks, Scott. Next up is
Motion made. Did you go through the vote?
Yeah, we voted. Then she asked me to repeat the conditions.
Okay, sorry.
That's okay. 9 Dogwood Lane.
I'm bringing up Collins Engineering representative.
Okay. I don't have to share a screen when that happens.
It took him a couple days, remember?
Well, I think he was just being kind to me the first few times. See, there he is. He's already ready.
How we doing, guys? Can you hear me?
Yep.
All right. Do you see my plan yet, or?
No, it's
Real quick.
Okay, here we go. Let me try this.
There, we got your file.
Yeah. Hang on.
What are you saying, Murray?
You jinxed me.
I did, unfortunately. There we go.
Here we go. All right, we're in business. You guys can see that all right? Yes?
Yeah.
Okay, for the record, Peter Lyons with Collins Civil Engineering Group, representing the homeowner here for a septic repair. Quick overview of the property. To the south, we have a drainage ditch, and to the west is a BVW, which ties in with the drainage ditch. The 100-foot riverfront resource limit cuts pretty much through the house and the proposed septic system. The 200 is off the site. The 50-foot wetland buffer follows the back line of the house and cuts into the tree line. And our work is being proposed around the 100-foot buffer. Our proposal is to provide a new 1,500-gallon septic tank to a 17 by 25 leaching bed. There will be no change in grading in front of the house. Where looks like we might be removing one or two decorative landscape and trees in the front to accommodate the leaching field. Access is going to be done right from Dogwood Lane and between the driveway and the existing tree line. We show erosion control around the project, trying to keep it tight. Right in front of the house is kind of a high spot, and then it slopes down to the north towards the driveway, and then also slopes down on the other side of the property towards the ditch. So this is really the best spot for it, as far as being away from the drainage ditch without pushing us down into the hill and the driveway. And obviously the backyard is ruled out because of the BVW. With this project, we show dewatering locations out by the street, contained within our primary erosion control limit. We show a soil stockpile area just south of the system where the tree's going to be removed. And we show a series of 5 conservation posts around the existing tree line. Quickly, a couple things. Our standard conservation post detail is on the plan, as well as our wetland notes, the basic stuff, keep it clean, DEP file, number on site, all that. Silt sacks proposed in the 2 catch basins at the street. Pretty straightforward septic repair on this one. So at this time, I'll take any questions.
No questions from me. Anybody have any questions?
Straightforward to me.
None for me either.
Carol, anything?
Nothing, thank you.
Okay. Great. Any public comment for 9 Dogwood Lane? Okay, so seeing none, Peter, I assume you want to close?
Yes, please.
So I'm going to make a motion to close and issue a permit for work and order conditions for 9 Dogwood Lane, noting perpetual condition, no dumping in the wetlands.
Lundin, second.
Roll call vote. Caulfield's aye.
Lundin, aye.
Milo, aye.
Thomas, aye.
Thank you. 4-0. Okay, 212 Quantico, which is a notice of intent for construction of a residential single-family home and all appurtenances.
We're back with Peter.
Yep, that's me again. I'm working on pulling my screen up for you. I don't know why it's giving me difficulties tonight.
You have the most recent plan, the one from this today.
I hope so. It's not letting me unpause it, and I'm not really sure why.
I can bring it up, Peter. Depends on what you tell me.
Last try. Hang on. I don't know. Mine's acting up, I guess, for some reason. Yeah, if you want to pull it up and just, I guess we can zoom to where the work's being done to start. This one's a little more involved than our typical septic survey.
Okay, so you guys should be able to see that now.
Okay.
Is this the right one?
Yep, it's the one from today. I think.
Okay, got it.
All right. I'll try to talk us through this, and then I'm sure there's going to be some questions and concerns. So I'll just kind of start with a brief overview, and then I'm sure we'll dig into it as we go along. But this is a proposal for a new 4-bedroom house on Quantico Avenue. Proposed address is 212, I believe. The site to the, I think it's the west, but to the left on our plan, going away from the work, you first encounter a series of isolated wetlands that are to the left and right of an existing dirt driveway leading to a property in the rear of this parcel. As you continue to go west, we encounter another wetland and an associated mean high line for a potential perennial stream.
This is the Quantico Brook, isn't it?
I'm not sure of that, to be honest. You would probably know more than I. I haven't really been too involved in this project.
Yeah, that's long and thin. That's the brook as opposed to a potential vernal pool.
Yeah, he said it.
I'm
said it was a
familiar
stream.
with it. I agree with that.
Yeah, a stream, sure, or a brook, whatever. Yes. So looking at the buffers, the 200 foot to that brook cuts through the middle of the lot. All of our work is being done significantly away from the 200 foot line. However, we are contending with a portion of the buffer from the closer wetlands, exactly, that are being pointed out. The 100-foot buffer to that cuts through our proposed house. So we will be doing some grading and house construction within the 100-foot buffer. We were able to site the septic system outside of all jurisdiction, call it 125 feet from the resource. High groundwater out here, so it will result in a raised system we're proposing a retaining wall on the, I believe it's the western edge. And this one's a little interesting. We're actually doing our driveway access off of the existing driveway easement. So we're not going to be creating any curb cuts. So that's why the driveway entrances are a little funky on this one. So we're keeping the entrance, outside of the 100-foot buffer. Just a real tight lot. I mean, the lot's well over an acre. However, we're tucked into this corner for usable space. So we're kind of just, doing the best we can to meet the required setbacks and still give our client, a decent lot here. So we've proposed a mitigation about 75 feet off the existing wetland, series of shrubs. I believe the blueberry bushes proposed. What else? Erosion control around the...
As well as cranberry, blueberry, just two different species in
Okay.
your plant list.
Okay. And we additionally have erosion control shown around the entire site. The erosion control is more or less staked in place currently, with the exception of the proposed driveway entrance that will be, restaked by us as the engineer. The proposed well is actually in place already, so that work is done. Yeah, we got a stockpile areas and dewatering locations shown up by the street. Our conservation post proposed along the western erosion control work limit line. That's my quick rundown, and I'll take any questions at this time.
So do we have details on this, on the retaining wall, and how high it's gonna be, and?
Can you zoom into the work area, please, Rory?
So I assume that the retaining wall, it's on each side of the driveway?
Yeah, keep going. I spoke with someone from Collins Engineering today. I don't know if it was you, Peter.
No, it was George you've been back and forth with.
Okay. And the retaining wall is on the west, if we're assuming the left is to the west, it goes from a point next to those stairs. It goes from here, and it's about an 8-foot drop, and then it extends down to here, where it's about a 3-foot drop. There's a note from on the construction plans that says anything over 4 feet will have a railing and will be designed by a structural engineer through the building permit process.
Okay.
Those construction notes are located above the title, and this is number 25 and 26, the very, just above the planting table.
There's another retaining wall on this side as well, right?
Right, at that point, you're outside of our jurisdiction, so we're just gonna assume they're gonna do well by their structural engineer.
Yep, and that's very minimal wall on the eastern wall, or northeastern, whatever we want to call it. If you look at the grades, we're 188 and 189, so there's really only a break up by the house, and the rest of it is, pretty much just gradual grading, because we're so elevated over the entire septic system as well. So yeah, the major wall is the jurisdictional wall that we discussed first. The other one is, almost irrelevant.
Yep, okay.
It does also identify a detail showing how the driveway is going to be crowned so that the water runs on either side of it, and there's a stone leaching trench that's 18 inches wide and 18 inches deep on either side of the driveway. It creates that parallel line along the driveway.
This is the
I
detail.
just wanted to ask you, Peter, if I may, when the trench is up against the wall, do you see any need for a weep hole on the wall?
No, no, I mean, ultimately, you know, that's a question for the structural engineer, but an 18-inch trench, you know, even if that were totally filled with water, we're not talking about a significant, you know, pressure increase on the wall, which is typically your concern with having a weep hole. If working properly and there's such significant slope here, you know, the trenches are really just to convey water. They're not going to be holding it. I think that answers your question.
Thank you.
Peter, this is Carol. I have a question. Kind of on the southeast part of dropping off the retaining wall between the driveway and the street. What is the slope there?
Looks like it's, I would say 3 to 1 is typically our max slope before we are forced into, you know, riprap or, you know, a retaining wall setting.
3 to 1. So,
That's why he's directing flow to either side instead of down the center.
Just one thing to be a little bit careful here, Carol, is that's non-jurisdictional at that point.
okay. I see.
What's the elevation of the wall that's not jurisdictional?
That's non-jurisdictional is the wall's only about a foot tall. The
Okay.
other wall is closer to 8 feet, 8 or 9 feet.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions?
Just one question. We talk about a trench. Are we talking more of a swale or a trench?
It's described here on the plan, if you zoom.
So it's right here on this part of the plan.
Yeah, I see that, but it looks more like a swale.
It is, it says 18 inch wide, 18 by 18.
Yeah, I mean, the stone's going to be level with the sides of the driveway. I don't know if you're looking at the 2% crown, which is going to be the driveway surface itself. It's not going to be open trenches. I guess that's my interpretation of what you're saying with the swale, but
That's what I was getting at. Okay.
Okay, any other questions?
Yeah, Peter, it's John Thomas. One question I had for you was, so I guess to the north, there's that boundary there, and that abuts the utility easement, I guess?
that's correct.
Yeah, so what's their plan for are they gonna have like screening to, you know, not look at that, or what do they plan on doing with that area?
What are they planning on doing? What do you mean, like a fence or something across the back?
Yeah, or some sort of, you know, visual screening or something like that. Do they plan on doing anything of that nature?
I mean, the honest answer is your top of foundation's gonna be 9 feet above existing grade, so you'd need a silly high fence to not be able to see the high tension lines. No, there's a vegetated buffer that's partially on the easement property or the utility company's property. So, you know, there will be some trees left. No, there's no proposal for a physical barrier at this time.
All right. Well, that's something to take into consideration for the potential owner, because as you know, the utility company has the right to remove any trees within their utility easement. So just keep that in mind, you know, moving forward, or let the owner know of that.
Yep.
Because I know I wouldn't want to look in my backyard and see high retention wires everywhere. So potential.
No, I mean that's something you're gonna pick that up when you see the house. When you know, the lot lines are all staked out there, and you know, there's no way you're gonna go look at this lot and not notice the big, you know, massive power line structure behind you. So.
Right.
I don't think it's going to be like a, oh, surprise, now there's a, you know, this big utility run behind the house. I mean,
Right.
you know the second you get to the property that that's going on. So,
Right. So the potential buyers might be coming back to us for plantings within the buffer zone.
Our buffer zone is pretty close to the wall in that, on that property line.
Yeah, I actually don't think over here is anything jurisdictional. They don't.
Right. Not there, but I'm saying anywhere going back beyond along the
Yeah.
property.
We're hoping that the permanent markers act as a no disturb identification. And I mean, if you want to be, it's a new hearing, a new application, if you want to be clear what the permanent markers are there for, you can add that condition.
I mean, obviously the utility company wouldn't go over their bounds or property, but I've seen them trim more than they're supposed to.
Yeah, they'd be pretty close to the house at that point.
Right. So it's no real issue. It's just, you know, for peace and quiet kind of serenity, you know, it's something to consider.
Yeah, there's some natural buffer there now, but like you said, who knows what the utility company can do with it. So.
Right. So it's just something for the potential buyer to take into consideration, that they'd have to come back to us for plantings, potentially.
Okay. Any other comments from the board?
Sure, this is Carol. I want to ask for help here, making sure I understand what performance standard is at play here. Is it the outer 50 feet of a
Isolated vegetated wetland,
and
and we're outside of the riverfront zone.
okay, and is that performance standard similar to the outer 50 of a BBW?
Yeah, form and function, protect form and function.
Okay, good. So if I understand this right, and correct me if I'm wrong, that means activities within the outer 50 feet shall not affect the form or function. And the applicant has the burden of proving by a preponderance of evidence that the proposed work shall have no adverse effect upon any of the bylaw and wetland values. And that's policed by the performance standards. Is that right?
That is, before you get too far down the line, the buffer planting in that outer, in the 75-foot area, that was from the earlier Conservation Commission decision to help protect and perhaps mitigate what was going on in the development side of that stone wall.
All right, thank you. So I appreciate that effort at mitigation. And I would like to just kind of talk my way through some of the wetland values we have, if I may. I have them on my screen, Rory, if that would be okay with you. Thank you. Let's see, there's a lot on here, huh? Share. Wow, this is very big. I've been observing some projects that have been going on, and I just kind of, like I said, I want to talk my way through this. On the upper left here, we have a functioning wooded upland buffer. To the right of that, figure 2, we're removing the remains of vegetation. And that vegetation filters sediments and pollution. It acts as a, John, stop me here. I'm trying to get to some wetland science. And John, will you agree to stop me if I say anything that's not quite right?
When you say quite right, what do you mean by that?
Well, if it's not in keeping.
I mean, that wetland science is up for debate. It's an opinion sometimes. So.
Okay. Well, if I say something that you don't agree with, I would appreciate hearing your opinion.
Sure, I'll leave my microphone open.
Okay, thank you. So this organic matter that's made of dead and alive and decaying plant material, that's what filters pollution out of water. It grabs sediment. It buffers stormwater. It is habitat, and it contains animals that are alive and dead and injured as a result of this activity. On the lower left, we have a buffer that's been cleared. And on the lower right, we have, an idea of what, the before and after compared to the upper left photo. I am concerned about the habitat being fragmented, about edge effects like introduced light pollution, change of humidity, change of light. Some animals are more vulnerable to that than others. To look in more closely at the value of that layer of organic matter that's on the top of the soil. It holds water like a sponge, reduces flooding, storm damage, water quality and supply. I've already talked about pollutants and bacteria. It's the habitat. And it also provides climate change adaptation and resiliency services. So far, so good, John?
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay, great. So this is what can happen if when we remove that part of the buffer, that is the big sponge that soaks up water. We can have more storm damage than we would if we had kept that material on site. It is digging into wildlife a little bit. There's the little creatures that can't run, jump, or hop away when the excavators come. That's going to have an impact on the population of wildlife.
Oh, hang on a sec. So do you have evidence that it's going to impact the population, or are you just making the assumption that it's going to impact the population?
Well, good question. So if a bunch of these little box turtles here, these young ones, if a bunch of those...
I know, but I think that you would have to present evidence that there is box turtles nesting in that particular habitat that's being impacted by the house construction to make that statement.
Right. It would have to be mapped as natural heritage habitat and have to be mapped as being within an area where they have deemed it significant for box turtle habitat or some other species.
I'm not making the statement that individual animals and creatures aren't being harmed by this, but I think the population itself is unlikely to be harmed by this particular project. So barring any evidence the other way, I don't think I can make the assumption that we're impacting I don't want the statement being made right now that the population is being impacted, because I don't think that's before us. I don't think it's been presented before us. If you're telling me that they have to prove that the population is not going to be, I don't know.
Right. Well, thank you for that. I mean, the thing is that the burden of proof here is with the applicant.
I think one thing I'd like to look at it. First of all, we haven't established what kind of animals or species might be there anyway, but a very germane point would be the finished gradient, how the flow is going to go, Is it gonna go through this area? The finished product, that's what I'd like to see, because this may be a moot point.
Well, John,
I'm totally on board with you, Carol, and the protection aspect.
right. John, would you agree that in the leaf litter that's on that site, there's likely to be some of these animals, insects, birds, frogs, toads, and different?
I mean, I can't certify or deny that there is or isn't. You know, I'm looking at this right now, and you know, every other parcel within proximity to this area, lot 212, like for instance, lot 206, lot 210, lot 216, lot 218, they're all mapped as being within NHESP habitat.
Sorry, they are or are not?
Are. Every other adjacent lot is mapped as being within natural heritage habitat except for lot 212.
Right.
The applicant's not required, because it's not mapped within natural heritage, to you know, provide any sort of notification to natural heritage, because they selectively, the people that are in charge of monitoring and managing habitat and the success of their species have not presented it as being on that parcel.
Okay, thank you. So let me ask you, are species that are not in some kind of population danger, species that have a reasonable population and not are on some protected list, are they ever part of the natural heritage?
I mean, Natural Heritage has a list of species that are on their website, and you can review them to kind of see what the special concern or species is. And then, for instance, you have to make a request form to Natural Heritage to release that information to you, whether your project's going to have a take on that specific species. Since their property is not within Natural Heritage habitat, they're not required to do that. If it was one of the neighboring lots and they were doing impacts within our jurisdiction, then, for instance, we would expect that they would have some sort of filing associated with that.
We have no vernal pools in this locus, is that correct?
No vernal pools in this locus, correct.
Okay. All right. So, I mean, some of the species we're looking at here, you're going to have vernal pools to support the life.
Well, some of them are turtles that don't require vernal
No,
pools.
I wasn't talking about turtles. I was talking about some of the others.
Right.
Okay, I'll move on then. I did note, Andrea, in your staff report that you mentioned that this lot was surrounded by mapped habitat, which is a concern for me because commissioners have seen this before, but for the benefit of the applicant and public, we know that turtles, minimum effective visit protection zone, turtles need something like 450 feet of a buffer width to something, to thrive, to maintain their populations. All these mammals, 200 something feet, birds almost 4, salamanders almost 4, snakes almost 500, frogs almost 575. So this is wildlife that's, whether it's common or not, I believe because of how much space it needs, will be affected in the inner 50 feet because they need all this space to complete their whole life cycle.
So the applicant has proposed a mitigation area to offset the potential impacts that they're making in the outer 50-foot buffer zone. Are you proposing an enhancement to that mitigation? Are you, do you think, I mean, I'm just trying to understand what the ask is on your side of things.
Right, thank you for asking that. I haven't thought that through all the way, but I have been reading, there's a report from UMass and the Mass DEP that shows what's kind of a report card about the success of mitigation, and it has some pretty poor results. So I'm not really a big fan of that. And
I know, and I think that I don't know if that's necessarily mitigation as much as I've seen as replication, but even mitigation, what would you have the applicant do? Just not move forward with the project?
Probably, yes. Yep. And here's more evidence why. As far as for wildlife, I mean, the animals that can run, jump, and hop away would be moving to an area where animals already live and where resources are would there be a greater demand for resources? I mean, this is like basic economics, supply and demand. So when the population goes up and uses up resources, then the population takes a dive. And then depending on different animals, it's normal for them to have fluctuations in their population. But the ones that there are few of, when their population takes a dive, that can be the end of them.
Peter, do we have calculations of what the, between the, and I'm using the stone wall as a sort of a delineator here, but do we have an idea of what the square footage impact is going to be on the work that's being done there in both a permanent and temporary capacity?
Yeah, I can tell you right away. So let's say, well, our work limit is more or less the stone wall, right? So I can tell you that between the stone wall and the 100-foot buffer, we have 3,000 square feet. So that's the area basically between, yeah, that's the jurisdictional area is 3,000 square feet out of the total lot area of, 85,000. So, I mean, we're really, it's obvious we're doing everything we can here to have absolutely as minimal effect on the resource areas. We're just trying to sneak a house lot in, and we think we should sufficiently be able to maintain that buffer area, if not improve it between the the proposed plantings. I'd also like to note that there's an existing stone wall that's going to act as a significant natural barrier between the project and the resource area. So between that existing stone wall, our proposed erosion control systems, and then some plantings behind it, I mean, we're actually only going to increase the the beneficial activity within that 50 to 75 foot area of the buffer zone.
I would just like to point out that in addition to enhancing the buffer zone, which is not the same as wetland replication, it's planting in upland, so it's pretty successful. They also have agreed to abide by the sustainable lawn practices, which when put in with a good loam base, will limit the fertilizer, pesticides, and herbicides used in the future.
Something else as a consideration, Joe. I've worked extensively with natural heritage over the years, and the area, the stripped area we're talking about, in terms of like mitigation, what can be done? There are certain types of not necessarily plants, but vegetation that can be put down that the animals love. I mean, they thrive in this. There's like a little bit of mediation here, and at minimal cost to the applicant. And I think that would probably go a long way in solving the issue at hand here.
Right.
And that can be obtained from natural heritage, what they prefer, and it's minimal cost. I mean, a lot of it you've got on site right now.
But the issue is that natural heritage isn't going to be able to tell us what plants, because they don't have this map. They don't know. They aren't going to be able to tell us what species are in this lot.
They would do just in general. They would tell you like salamanders, turtle, whatever. what kind of vegetation, what is conducive for them, what do they like, how do they like to travel? Just a general, they'll just give you a general list. And that should allay some of the concerns here we've got under disturbed areas, in my opinion.
Right. Thank you, Charlie. I mean, I would like to add that wildlife is just one of our values. And to circle back, it is the, I appreciate that the engineering plan is quite an investment for the applicant, but it alone does not meet the bar of burden of proof. It does not provide the preponderance of evidence that all wetland interests are protected in the inner 50 feet. So I would like to, the applicant to take on that burden and show us how, removing the native vegetation there will affect the public water supply, private water supply, groundwater.
Yeah, I mean,
Erosion.
like you just mentioned, you're concerned with what's going on in 50 feet. I mean, we have zero proposed activity at all within 50 feet. I mean, it's kind of contradicting, I guess, what you're asking.
Well, I think what's being asked is to ensure that the activity that's in the outer 50 isn't impacting the inner 50. I believe that's the condition that's being discussed here. The issue that I have here is that given that the activity that's happening in the outer 50 is on the other side of this substantial stone wall, I think certainly some of the impacts are negligible at this point. I'm pleased that the applicant has proposed some mitigation, which was originally approved on the original plans back in 2009, 2010, I believe, by a previous commission. So I'm open to a discussion about enhancing the mitigation. I personally am not looking for a wildlife study here, some exhaustive wetland scientist report related to this. This is not the type of project that I think requires that. He's working on the very outer edges of the outer 50 in an upland area that slopes away from this. So I just think it's not the project to ask for that. That's my feeling on it.
If I could expound on that a little bit, Rory, too. You've got house lots in town that are non-jurisdictional. They're just outside the 100. And the area you're going to be disturbing is going to be significant relative to what we're talking about. And we have no jurisdiction there. And if you want to make a comparison there compared to what we're looking at right now, and the mitigation is being offered, I mean, I can't take issue with anything here at all. I think it's well done. That's my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be open to some specific suggestion to enhance the mitigation, but short of that, I'm inclined to move forward with the project.
Right. I guess I would just like to say about the burden of proof that in this case, the burden is a preponderance of evidence, and in a ACEC situation, that evidence has to be clear and convincing without doubt or uncertainty. So I do just want to, shine some light on that. I believe that it's a burden. It's supposed to be a burden because we're supposed to be protecting the public interest. As far as, I think your idea, Rory, is good about increasing the area of the mitigation. But I think it's the burden of the applicant to come up with that.
If we request it, but see, from my standpoint, Charlie, just let me sort of direct this at this point. So I think though that if a majority of the board believes the applicant has met their burden and that the impact is minimal, then I don't think it's necessarily in the best interest of anyone to require the applicant to go back and make those changes. So, you know, from my standpoint, I'm okay with this plan as is, and prepared to move forward. And you know, we could, you know, and I will leave it up to Peter to tell me whether or not he wants to close or not, whether he wants to come back and present additional evidence that might satisfy the board as a majority. But, you know.
I'll ditto what you just said, Rory. I'm fine with it. Compared to other projects that have gone on, and I've seen applicants, not with this particular board, but I've seen applicants go through, I mean, undue financial hardship. And at the end of the day, they get approved. But I mean, it's just so burdensome, so financially just unreasonable. And I mean, what I'm looking at right here does not meet that criteria. I mean, I'm on board with you, Rory. I see. I'm fine with it.
I do want to be clear that I'm not making the decision on a financial basis, and I'm making it based upon that I believe that they've given the information we have about the site, and having been out on the site myself, that I believe that the impact on the inner 50 on this will be negligible. Okay, that's my opinion. And I don't believe that I need additional information in order to make that determination. And I believe that the applicants met the burden of proof. So it isn't about the finance of going and doing additional information. I just don't believe it's necessary to do so, given that the plan we have in front of us.
That's essentially what I was trying to say, Rory.
Yep.
And I'll add that this property is not within an ACEC. And, you know, I think that what they're presenting here, this is the kind of the ultimate, you know, configuration that you could get, matching all the local criteria. I mean, just planning, Board of Health. I mean, there's all other factors that play into this, and they obviously did their due diligence, and, you know, now they're coming in front of conservation. And I mean, to have this project, you know, within the outer, you know, it looks like 75 to 100 foot, where they're just having a portion of the house and driveway being within our jurisdiction. I think they did a very good job at trying to maximize or minimize the amount of impacts, minimize the amount of impacts that are going to be occurring within our jurisdiction.
So I'm going to ask for public comment at this time. Do you have any public comment for 212 Quantico?
No hands raised.
No hands raised. Carol, I think at this point you've had your say at this point.
Right, let's vote.
Okay, so Peter, would you like to close?
Yes, please.
Okay, so I'm gonna make a motion to close and issue a permit for work in order conditions for 212 Quantico. Just noting the recommendations for conditions in the staff report. Just Peter, I want to understand that that the restoration planting has to be monitored by a qualified professional for at least 2 growing seasons. Okay.
Yep.
So that's one of the conditions that's in the report. And also understanding that. Okay, I'm gonna go through this so that I don't want it to be anything that we miss.
Actually, the plan in your the staff report in your binder is December 4th. I made small revisions today.
Yeah, we got that one too. So.
Do you? Okay, good.
So I mean, I think that I'll run through them so that there's no question here. So the conditions are the restoration planting between the IVW and limit of work, including native shrub, woody shrubs and ground cover. The driveway should be constructed in accordance with the paved driveway detail to collect drainage into stone trenches on either side. Install and maintain lawn area in conformance with sustainable lawn practices, as identified in Wetland Note 11. Monitoring of restoration planting by qualified professional for at least 2 growing seasons after planting. The report submitted at time of planting in each May 30th and October 30th until commission confirms 75% cover is established. Perpetual conditions, no dumping in the wetlands, limiting road and de-icing chemicals in snow storage area in accordance with Mass DEP snow removal guidance. No dumping in the wetlands, I think I already said, okay. Do I have a second?
On the second. Oh,
Right.
Carol gets it.
Lundin, second, so, roll call vote, Caulfield's aye.
Lundin, nay.
Maylow, aye.
Thomas, aye.
Okay. 3-1, thank you.
All right, thank you, guys.
Thanks, Peter.
Night.
Okay, so, next up is, so 34 roundtable, we're gonna continue, is that right?
Ken Thompson is here, but yes, I do recommend a continuance.
So, hang on, I'm not opening the hearing yet, I just want to be very clear. If they paid their fee,
Not as of this afternoon.
okay, so, so I will talk to Ken unofficially, I am not opening the hearing.
No, it is there. It was in the website this afternoon. And it was reporting 195, which was 100 plus the bylaw fee. Right now, it's reporting 625.
Well, you must have, I apologize.
That was this afternoon, Andrea. It was late.
You must have
You
been.
can check it if you would, please.
We do, Rory, to your point, we usually wait until we give the applicant 24, we have to deposit the check, and it takes 24 hours to do that.
Okay.
That is late. So I guess, yes, I guess the answer is, town hall office hours were open when it came in.
Do you have any way to check that, Andrea?
I'm in it now.
Okay.
It's an electronic payment. I don't have it.
You don't have.
I don't have it on the,
I just noticed the fee went from 195 to 6 something.
right, but the amount paid is only 195. The
So the check hasn't cleared, is what's being.
the check hasn't even been submitted. It hasn't been submitted electronically.
Okay. Okay. That's fine.
Are you saying you expect she did?
No, I'm sure she told me she did, so I'm sure she did. It was mailed last week.
Oh,
I mailed, this is Michelle Monroe, sorry, I did mail that last week. I'm not sure what the holdup is with you receiving it, but I did put it in the mail last week.
oh, I'm sorry, Michelle, you're the landowner. We,
Yes.
we've been checking our, application fee online because that's where we expect all application fees to come, is to be submitted electronically.
Okay, I wasn't able to get access to that, so I had to mail in a check.
Okay, next time, give me a call and I will give you access. She's correct, Ken, you're the only one that's you're the only user that's registered to this.
Well, it's the first time filing with you guys, so.
Right, so.
System's a little different for me.
We haven't seen it in the US Post that takes a, there's a longer delay because they don't check the mail every day and, it doesn't go in. As of Thursday, there was no check, Tish says.
Yeah, I think it went out last Wednesday, so that doesn't surprise me. When's the next date?
December 21st.
Are there any other issues we need to be prepared for?
Did you see my staff report?
Yeah, add the markers and a detail in silt sock. Anything
No,
else?
I think it was more than that.
Okay, let me see. I just figured out how to download that today, so.
Okay. I mean, you've got a waiver request,
Yes, I do have a waiver request.
so reasonable alternative. And no, and I'm recommending, the commission can confirm, that unless you have proof other than the Conservation Commission files, you're looking for after-the-fact jurisdiction, after-the-fact authorization for the perimeter fence, dog pen, active play areas, and sheds.
And I actually was thinking about that. I'm prepared to add more mitigation for that and do some removals and things like that.
So,
But until the next time.
so I think that in general, I think probably Andrea is giving you a good idea of some of the other things besides the pool that are going to come up on this particular issue, which I think have been in discussion in the past week or two. So, I think that probably you come in next time with some additional information and maybe also start putting together the waiver request, which is going to be something that you're going to need to accomplish here.
Will do.
If I may add, this is Carol. The waiver burden of proof is, as the applicant, you'll have to provide clear and convincing evidence that is without doubt or uncertainty that the activities will not have adverse effect on any of our wetland values.
Understood.
Okay, so let's make a motion to continue 34 Roundtable Road to December 21st.
Ooh.
Lundin,
Right.
second.
Roll call vote, Caulfield's aye.
Lundin, aye.
Charlie, you're frozen again? Okay, I heard Malo aye.
Thomas, aye.
Okay, so we'll see you on the 21st, Ken.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so we're up to 34 Roundtable Road.
That was 34 round
I'm
table.
sorry, yep. 81 Beaver Dam.
And do we have, we do not have the applicant, so I guess I can speak to the current plan that was revised.
I can bring it up for you.
Okay, and you also have revised, you also have pictures if we need them. So the applicant here, this is the older one. Okay. The applicant was asked at the last hearing to put in permanent markers along the side property line that he shares with the NRT property at 50-foot markers. You can see that. He has identified a circle here at the edge of the driveway. That's a dry well for the roof drainage. As we discussed before, the garage, two-story garage, is located on the pavement, and he has an erosion control that begins at the far corner and extends along the side of his property line, and then a silt sock in the catch basin along the street. So, you know, you might want to ask that he extend that erosion control across the front, but I think personally think it's a distance away. I don't think there's going to be much of a problem there. He also seems to have sufficient area up by the driveway for soil stockpiling if that were to become an issue, and he has clear access off of the street. So the conditions that I had proposed in my original staff report, I think are still valid, unless you have other questions.
So I don't have the staff report, but I'll bring it up.
I know, I'm looking for it myself, and, I'm pulling it up, you're getting yours, I'm pulling mine up from the, earlier meeting.
So is the soil stockpile going to be in the existing driveway? Is that what he was saying?
Yeah,
Okay.
So the conditions in the recommendation and conditions are in your report are, the wetland boundaries are not confirmed. Any future filing would need to have the wetlands identified and survey located. Permanent markers, which he has put on the plan. Erosion control measures. No dumping in wetlands is a perpetual condition, and then any other conditions. Anybody have any questions? Go ahead, Carol.
Yeah, it's, Andrea, I sent you a photograph earlier today of a trench that had been built along the driveway.
yes. I spoke to Rory about that. He was out on the road at the time, and he confirmed that that was there on the 16th as well. Do you want to show those photographs, Rory, or should I pull them up?
I can pull them up. Let's get a stop to share. Okay, so this first one, this is from the 16th. So the trench is there. You can see here.
Didn't he say that the gas company came in and dug up his property or something along those lines?
I think it was that, because there's actually a little bit right over in this area here. There's actually a bit of a cut to his driveway too.
I thought I remember hearing them talk about that, and he was upset because then they unearthed the drain area that he put on the plan. They actually uncovered it,
which is right here. Yes.
Yeah.
So
I'm not thinking that we should go after him for something that the gas company did on his property.
And we've had a pretty good rainstorm in between the two, and no material has moved. I assume that's what you saw today, Rory.
Yeah, I'll show you the picture from today as well. That's the picture from today. So there's been no erosion there at all. So
It's just like my picture from today.
nice.
Yeah, that's why I asked him to show.
And I'm sure it's going to be in his best interest to restore that area as well. So
Yeah, he seems to take good care of his property, to be honest. So I mean, we can condition that he has to restore it, but I mean, I don't. Any other concerns, Carol, just other than he might have been doing work before?
No, nothing else. Thank you.
Yeah. So, okay. Any other questions from the commission? Okay, so any public comment for 81 Beaver Dam? Seeing none, going to make a motion to close, issue permit for work and order conditions for 81 Beaver Dam Road, noting that the wetland boundaries have not been confirmed. Any future application submitted to the commission should have the wetlands professional identified and professionally identified and survey located. And no dumping in the wetlands is a perpetual condition. And I will also put in here that the erosion control measures are located on the plan, but at the environmental planner's discretion, she may request additional erosion control measures.
Sure, along the front.
Along the front.
Yep.
Thomas, second.
Roll call vote, Caulfield's aye.
Lundin, aye.
Melo, aye.
Thomas, aye.
Great.
Okay. 188, this is fast response.
So this was last time we issued a partial. They had some debris in the wetlands that were beyond the fence. This was a wetland restoration that was done as an NOI to an enforcement order that was several years old. And we instructed them at the last meeting to either have the material removed, or we would start finding them starting Monday, last Monday. And by last Monday, they had them all removed. They had sent pictures. I went out and visualized it myself. I did not go all the way out to the fence, but I could see from where I was that everything was removed. So
I'm going to share my screen because in my report for this this second certificate of compliance, it does show that the area behind the picket, this fence was the fence that was authorized, and this is the drum that we saw back here, and they took out multiple loads of material. You can see the truck marks on the lawn coming into this area. It's cleaner.
any questions?
Responded very quickly once I was able to get a direct contact with the landowners.
Any questions?
None.
Any public comment for 188 Massapog? Seeing none, I will make a motion to issue a certificate of compliance for 188 Massapog.
Second.
Just is there a perpetual condition on this? No dumping in those wetlands, or can we add it in?
Yeah, it was a perpetual condition originally. The same perpetual conditions as are on the partial certificate.
Same perpetual conditions that are on the partial certificate of compliance for 188.
Lundin, second.
Roll call vote. Caulfield's aye.
Lundin, aye.
Melo, aye.
Thomas, aye.
Great, thanks, guys. 4 New Pond Way. It's another certificate of compliance.
This was a project that was originally approved through order of condition permit for work in January of 2019. It's along the banks of New Pond, along the private drive, New Pond Way. He had a cesspool that he was upgrading. He also put in a well up on the north of the site, and then he has a new septic system in this place here to the south of the site. He did require he had to mount the system, and so he did have some storage of he did fill in a flood zone, so he was required to provide at least 111 cubic feet of new storage, and he did it along the southern end of his property by creating a new little basin area through here. There is the engineer of record actually submitted a letter to say that it was calculated out at 158 cubic feet with his stamp. So that's good enough for me. The property is fully revegetated. This was a property where the original wetland line stopped at the grass. So we had recommended special condition 1 that any new filings would have soil borings. We didn't actually say that was a perpetual condition, and it's not forever and ever, but it certainly is for the next filing. So if John agrees with me, I think we should add that to the certificate of compliance as well, that it's it can be, you can lift it after the next filing. And the other condition that was identified as perpetual is no dumping in the wetlands. From what I can tell of, these are good stewards of their property. It's not likely to be a problem.
Any questions?
No.
Okay, any public comment for New Pond Way? Seeing none, I will make a motion to issue a certificate of compliance for 4 New Pond Way, noting that the wetland line was not confirmed. Soil borings were requested for future filings since the wetland report accompanying the NOI observed sphagnum moss in the lawn area, as well as no dumping in the wetlands is a perpetual condition.
Thomas, second.
Roll call vote. Caulfield's aye.
Lundin, aye.
Hello, aye.
Thomas, aye.
Okay, thank you. Next up, Andrea, you want to give us
Minor mod?
minor
Lot
mod for Lot 7 at Goodspeed Estates?
I can share my screen if you'd like.
Mine's already up if you want it. Or...
Oh, there you go. Okay, I can't see yours, but I can see mine. So,
okay.
Goodspeed Estate is off of Center Street at 345, just south of Cedar Drive. The street itself is in place, and lots are beginning to sell. This property here, Lot 7, is at the end of the cul-de-sac. You cross over the culvert here, and you bear to the west, and this lot is in place. What you see at the top in the bubble is what was originally, is that the original or is that the proposal?
This is the original, previously approved.
Previously approved is in the bubble.
Yes.
Okay, so it was a larger house. It had the driveway coming along the back. It was longer into the back. And it had a square foot area of impervious of 84,027. This property is proposed, the proposed impervious is down on the bottom of the plan there, and the driveway is tighter in. The house is much smaller, but he allowed himself area for a pool and a pool house. The original limit of work allowed in the subdivision has been maintained, and in speaking with the applicant through pre-application review, he does intend to use the sustainable lawn practices on his area, the area of lawn that's left. The question of whether or not it's a minor mod from what was originally approved, this was an 8-lot subdivision, and you are maintaining the same limit of work, and you are reducing the impervious, even though he has more outdoor play space. You're reducing the impervious by 427 square feet, as it turns out. The house itself is significantly smaller, but then you can see the pool area is 2,600 square feet. So it can be done as a minor mod. If you so choose, this becomes the plan of record for this site. He would then get a partial certificate.
So I think I'm in favor of it since it's a smaller footprint of impervious, and I think also what I'd just like to see, since we don't have specific conditions on this lot, is that we send him a letter saying that he's acknowledged and agreed to use sustainable lawn practices, and send them a copy of our sustainable lawn practices. So I think other than that, I'm okay with this. Anybody have any questions?
Not me.
I'm actually very glad to see some lots starting to go in there. It'd be nice to see this project start to come together for sure. That's great, fantastic. So, so do you need a motion from us to accept this as a minor mod?
I'll make a motion to accept it as a minor mod.
Yeah, I've gone back and forth on that myself, that if it's a minor mod, then administratively I can do it myself, but we're here, so why don't you go ahead and.
So Charlie just made the motion to accept this as a minor modification. And I call Fell second. So Caulfield's aye.
Sorry, I didn't hear that as a motion. I thought it was a question.
I actually have one question before we go to this. Was this one lot or two lots?
It's only the lot to, it's a common driveway across the stream, and then it's just the property on the western side.
Right, but they didn't change the lot configuration, right?
No, they didn't change the lot configuration,
Okay.
and lot 8 doesn't have a proposal. It doesn't have a new proposal.
Yes.
So everything's the same? The hammerhead that they were proposing there is the same?
Yeah, it's kind of a teardrop.
Okay.
Okay. You want to make the motion again, Charlie?
I'll make the motion with the minor modifications we just discussed.
Caulfield second. Roll call vote. Caulfield's aye.
Lundin, aye.
Melo, aye.
Thomas, aye.
Okay, thank you all. Next up is, we had an emergency situation a couple weeks ago that came to us as an emergency certification. I discussed it with Andrea and gave her my approval, and so that the Mass Department of Transportation could address this erosion problem on Route 138. So, so Andrea, why don't you take us through it and we'll go from there.
Sure. The 138 south of Route 106 interchange, just north of the miniature golf property, on the northbound side of the property, on the road, there was a little bit of a washout. There was a bit of a washout.
Yeah.
And so what they are proposing, what they have done at our, with me having reviewed it, this is the washout. It was in 2 locations, up by the truck and then down here. And the guardrail itself wasn't compromised, but you can see that it's a good 3-4 inches of heavy compact bluestone dust that actually moved. So what they did is put in a filter fabric, filled the hole, put in a filter fabric, put hand size rock rubble across the top of it on both sides of a little head wall that is bringing water supposedly from the subdivision street across the way. It is a temporary fix, but I was there after the Monday storm and it held. And the more permanent fix is probably in our lifetime going to be cleaning out the gravel that got washed into a wetland that is an ACEC and mapped habitat. Through this emergency certificate, the natural heritage was acknowledged and did see the request and okayed the work that has now indeed been done. So what I'm asking for tonight is a ratification of the approval, recognizing that a notice of intent does need to be submitted. And I think we can expect it in the coming 6 months, because they need to, because it's the state, and they do have to get a wetland biologist out there to verify the wetland line.
Yeah, the wetland line is right there.
You can spit to it.
Yes, exactly. So I make any questions from anybody?
Nope.
So I make a motion to ratify the emergency certification with the intention that a notice of intent will be filed in the future.
I should also say that Greg Swan was right there with me, standing behind Mass Highway and agreeing or disagreeing whenever they said how they were going to solve the problem, and was very helpful, and 24 hours notice.
Good.
I second that open motion.
Thank you. Roll call vote. Caulfield's aye.
Lundin, aye.
Melo, aye.
Thomas, aye.
Okay. So next up is the 2021 meeting schedule. So there was one version that was sent out with Friday's packet, and then there was a different version that was sent out today after a conversation that I had with Andrea, where we compressed, I think, 4 meetings into 2 in October, November area. We got a little, I think we might be a little off our schedules as far as first and third Mondays because of some holidays and stuff, but I thought that sort of worked better for us. But anybody have any questions or comments?
None for me.
Okay. So I make a motion to accept the proposed hearing schedule and deadline dates for 2021 as proposed in our packet.
In the revised packet.
In the revised packet.
Thomas, second.
Roll call vote. Caulfield's aye.
Lundin, aye.
Melo, aye.
Thomas, aye.
Meeting minutes for November 16th. The only thing I had was a formatting issue that page 6 is blank. So if we could just remove the blank page, but other than that, I have no questions. Anybody have any questions?
No.
I would accept the motion.
Motion to accept the minutes. I'm sorry, I wasn't, let me retract that.
Thomas says motion to accept the minutes, because I was there.
Caulfield second. Roll call vote. Caulfield's aye.
Lundin, aye.
Melo abstains.
Melo.
I have to abstain.
Yep. Thomas, aye.
Okay. Environmental planner updates.
Not much in the past couple weeks. We had the Wheaton Farm Barn did pass special town meeting with that quorum of 101, which included our own Carol Lundin and farmer Kevin O'Dwyer to get us over the quorum issue.
Good job, Carol.
You.
The next steps are that it has to go up to the central register. We have to ask for real thick bids on this. And we hope to get the work started in the spring. Hope to get this out in bidding in January. Fallen trees at Denise O'Connor's property over on Massapog, I believe. It was actually a tree on conservation land that fell toward, completely uprooted, and fell and got hung up on another tree, otherwise would have hit her garage, which is attached to her house. DPW was able to get there and eliminate the imminent danger, left the tree stump in place, and removed the material off of her property. Mr. Elliot Felbau was requested 3 months ago to have trees removed from his property because he thought there'd be an imminent threat. It required that we go out and get a crane to do the work. It was costly. He's now saying that there's a few more that need to be replaced. There's a lot of dead trees in here. We can't get to them all, and DPW cannot do this work. I haven't considered it an imminent threat, but I bring it to your attention because it cost $500 to $600. I think close to $800 the first time, and he's asking to have more trees taken down.
Yeah, I agree with you wholeheartedly. I'm dealing with the same situation right now, and it's not fun.
It's not fun to say no, or it's not fun to have to go out and do it.
It's not fun to have to go out there and talk to people and talk about, and they're claiming that, for instance, the trees are on conservation land when they're actually on their property, and you have to try to convince them otherwise. So there are certain circumstances where I just have said, you need to prove to me basically that the tree's on conservation land, otherwise it's your responsibility.
Right. These trees are on conservation land, but they're a distance. They're not the first immediate trees. And yeah, they could, anything can fall. Anything can fall. And I'm a little unsure if he didn't get a proposal from, I want to speak to the arborist myself and say, are you looking for work, or is there an imminent threat here?
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what it comes down to. I mean,
This is money you're not going to get back. You don't have a land management account.
No, I understand that. And it's a, but it is also, we don't want to harm people's properties either. So, but at the same time, there's hundreds of thousands of trees in this town. Not just thousands, hundreds of thousands. That all probably more than 50 or 60 feet tall. I mean, I probably go by 1,000 on my drive home, so I could probably see 1,000 from my house. So I think that it's a big challenge in a town. This is what attracts people to the town, but then they're concerned that we've got trees. So I mean, I think that talking to the arborist and getting a legitimate opinion here about how much really needs to get done is the way to go here. So
Agreed.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Okay, I'll take care of that. I appreciate your guidance. That's it for me.
What about the request for Wheaton Farm? I know we sort of talked about that. We didn't want to talk about it since she didn't come back to us.
She didn't come back. So we got a request for a winter solstice walk.
The only reason why I'm bringing this up is because we won't have another meeting before this happens.
Right.
So I'd be a little bit concerned that she comes back to us this week and
right
conversation.
So I just want then for the record, I did get a request for a walk on Wheaton Farm after hours, which is night. All our conservation lands close at sunset, and the only activity allowed after at night is nature study. So what she's requesting is a winter solstice walk, and asked to have a fire down at the campfire down at the Boy Scout camping area. It is the only spot in Wheaton Farm where it would be legitimate to have a fire. There's already a little camp circle there, but there's a lot of downed trees, and so there's a little bit of work that would be needed to do it. And it's not like you're going to be able to see the moon from there, because you got a pretty heavy tree canopy in front of you. But the request was made, and your conservation regs say no fires are prohibited, and no staying overnight, no overnight unless it's nature study. That being said, obviously we have group camping from the Boy Scouts that is allowed on a relatively annual basis, and they do have campfires and they do stay overnight. So I bring it to your attention if you'd like to. It's kind of gray.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that's, we cross over from an organized group like the Boy Scouts, where I think we have some experience with and confidence in their experience in the woodlands at night, as well as dealing with fires out in this sensitive area as well, as opposed to saying general public. And I'm not saying this particular request the person is not going to do what's necessary or not. It's just a matter of where do we draw that line. I certainly would be in favor of allowing them to do the solstice walk. I guess really, I think the question to me is whether we allow them to have a fire. How close to any sort of water source is this campfire area?
It's a couple 100 feet from the Hammond Reservoir.
Yeah, so not too far. I mean, they could carry a couple 5-gallon buckets of water to put the fire out. That's my question. So.
Yeah, that's a good point. We want to make sure they do douse that really well.
She did ask the fire chief or lieutenant for his captain. Sorry, he's a captain. For his opinion of it as well. He was, he was more okay.
I think he was okay from a fire standpoint.
Right. Right.
He really wasn't thinking about it from a conservation land standpoint. So.
Right.
Anybody else have any thoughts?
Right.
It's such a minor issue, but it's one of those things where if we start doing this, it becomes something that others may come to us and ask the same request.
Yeah, good point. If Mike was here, he would say it's still hunting season, so be careful.
That's a really good point, Carol, because this is the hunting season. This is in terms of the guns.
It's also really cold out there right now.
Hence the fire.
Well, I mean, if you can't have the fire.
Yeah.
Right. It's just,
And also COVID. I mean, how close can you get next to a fire?
Right. Everybody wants to be upwind of the smoke. So, let's all go to the same side of the fire circle.
I mean, is everyone going to have their separate fire? Each person has their own fire? 6 feet apart?
I think it's a small group, 8 to 10 or something. So, I mean, I don't. They could probably get spaced up, not close enough to the fire to get enough warmth, I would think. But
yeah,
they'd have to rotate in and out, I think.
Take a number.
The inner circle and the outer circle.
Right.
Just to be clear, so I think that deer is only primitive firearms at that time. I think that there are some other, I think you can hunt bobcat, coyote, fox, opossum, raccoon, and rabbits and squirrels. So just saying what the hunting season is. So it is hunting season. So
for some, I ran into a hunter the other day, Clifford Grant. He had a I couldn't tell you what kind of gun it was, but it was long.
Yeah, I'm talking about December 21st. The other ones, and December 12th is a shotgun ends. So,
Okay, you know what? He told me that the shotgun goes for the whole month. So that alone is a reason to not go in the woods.
exactly. So so we're okay with the solstice walk, but no fire?
Well, the liability for the fire is like mostly COVID.
That's really it. It's more COVID related than conservation for me.
Okay, I
Who's
have no problem with that. Yeah.
Okay, so in the future, if I get other requests like this, I won't be so reluctant to bring it to your attention for, get your approval.
Okay. Anything else?
No.
Okay, so thank you all. We made it to 2 hours, so I appreciate that. So last chance.
Motion to adjourn.
Just prior to that, I'd like to say that it's a pleasure and honor working with you people. I can see it's going to be a good relationship, and lots of good points were brought up. I'm thoroughly impressed, and that's it. Carol, you brought up some excellent points.
Thank you, Charlie.
So I'm going to second the open motion on the floor. Roll call vote. Callfell's aye.
Blondine, aye.
And Frozen Charlie.
Halo, aye.
All right.
Thomas, I.
Thank you all. We'll see you in a couple weeks.
Good night.
Good night.